Among the myths is that of the sister of Alexander, of Thessaloniki, who was transformed into a mermaid because, by mistake or ignorance, she threw away the immortal water that her brother had acquired through labor and risked to ensure immortality. When she realized her mistake, and fearing the wrath of her famous brother, she begged inconsolably, "God, I don't want to believe that one day my brother will die. Let me live with the hope that even if he dies, you will bring him back into the world." Her prayer was heard, and the queen turned into a fish from the waist down and jumped into the sea. Became a mermaid. Since then, she always returns to the sea, and if she sees any ship, she runs and asks the sailors about the fate of her famous brother.
Hey sailors! I am Thessaloniki the mermaid. Is my brother King Alexander alive?
Heptapergin, also popularly known by its Ottoman Turkish name Yedikule, is a Byzantine and Ottoman-era fortress situated on the northeastern corner of the Acropolis of Thessaloniki in Greece. The name means 7 towers. After the Ottoman invasion, Heptapergin remained a prominent point within Thessaloniki's Acropolis. During the 1890s, the fortress was converted into a prison. Torture was common, and hundreds of inmates were executed there. Since then, many myths have aroused that make Heptapergin one of the mysterious places of Thessaloniki. It is said that voices are heard at night. This myth has 2 versions. The first version is that the voices are of the people who were executed there, or of the spirits that guard a treasure of the tower which has not been found yet. They also say that strange phenomena are happening inside the tower. There's a creepy feeling as you enter the prison through a narrow corridor, with the guardhouse at its end. Once inside, you feel totally cut off. The high walls around you block both the view and the sounds of the outside world. Truth or myth? You almost sense the presence of the prisoners as you walk past the locked iron doors of the cells and into the dark, cold solitary confinement wing.
A curse seems to be related to the site of the ancient Roman hippodrome, where at least 7,000 spectators were brutally slaughtered under the order of the Byzantine Emperor Theodosius in 390 AC, because they riot against authorities. The city's surviving inhabitants erected a memorial stone with all the names of the victims. The stone was believed to miraculously bleed once a year, on the day of the massacre. It was not long before the emperor ordered the memorial to be destroyed, to erase any memory of the massacre. Since then, a curse is said to haunt the Hippodrome Square. Almost every building that was erected in the area, specifically, any building whose tenants failed to acknowledge the sacred history of the site was, according to local legend, violently destroyed. In June 1978, Thessaloniki was rocked by a strong earthquake, and out of the thousands of buildings in the city, only one collapsed and claimed the lives of 29 people. It was the one located in Hippodrome Square. The new building erected on the site is now home to the archives The History of Thessaloniki, which also contains extensive historical references to the Roman Hippodrome massacre. The curse remains inactive since the big earthquake. Let's hope so.
The specific gardens, which are situated in the Upper Thessaloniki, were the retreat of Sefala Pasha and the Ottoman masons who belonged to his close circle, who built there this strange complex of stone structures, full of mystical symbols. They even say that the stones with which it was built were all stones struck by lightning. This place is considered an energy site, while followers of sacred geography consider it a nodal geomagnetic point. It is said that during the occult ceremonies human sacrifices took place. Another myth relevant to the gardens speaks of the road of the black stone that leads to a dead end at the height of the gardens, and every 3 days, at 12 at night, a lost road appears there that you don't know where it leads. There are also stories with a strong metaphysical element, due to the fact that the gardens are located near many old and new cemeteries. The constructions of the gardens are very similar to those of Park Güell in Barcelona.
There is a small and narrow alley in Upper Thessaloniki, which is called the Black Rock Street. It considers to be a gate to the unknown. Find it and you have arrived at the entrance to the Twilight Zone. The Black Rock Street urban legend is a relatively new one and still a work in progress. The myth says that this particular street is a dead end, and that every 15 days at 12 o'clock at night and for 15 minutes a gate opens, and if you pass through it, without realizing it, you have stepped on it. Since you don't even know where you now, you can't even find an exit from the street. Instead, you are trapped in it. Even if you are unsuccessful in your quest for a shortcut to a parallel universe, you can admire the majestic, amphitheatrical view of the city, which is unexpectedly revealed to you from this narrow, unassuming part of town.
The Red House belonged to the Logos family. one of the largest families of textile workers in NAO-USSA. In 1939 the family was financially ruined. Shortly after the war broke out, this resulted in the permanent abandonment of the residence. The house was falling apart year after year, and maybe that's why it got the reputation of being haunted. The legend said that any owner who took it would have bad luck, while its haunted reputation is strengthened by the accident that occurred during the work of its restoration, in which a worker lost his life.
The house at Vasilis Olga's 263 Street. Its legend is old and began during the Turkish occupation. The land belonged to a wealthy bey, who murdered one of his wives by strangling her with a rope when she rebelled against his behavior towards the women of the house. Bey, in order to avoid this conviction, declared that his wife had committed suicide. Later in history and before the invasion of the Germans, the mansion functioned as a Jewish gambling club, while during its occupation it passed into the hands of the Gestapo, who turned its underground spaces into torture chambers. Strange noises, whispers, screams, falling objects, doors that close, are some of the observations highlighted according to the urban legend that has surrounded the house at 263 Vasilis Olga's Street. The strangest yet unknown mystery story of this particular mansion took place in the 80s when the numerous owners of the building decided to give the mansion a restoration project. It is said that one day before work began the contractor suffered a heart attack, while the architect and engineer were killed in a car accident traveling from Athens. There are neighbors who speak of flashes appearing suddenly through windows.